Okay, so today we're going to talk about one of the most important and also most confusing parts of being a distributor of SeneGence, which is the commission and group sales volume bonus. A lot of times what you'll hear is all referred to as commission, but there are two separate parts to making money as you start growing your team. And so I want to explain the difference between the two and also explain how you can make more money by building your team and encouraging them to do the same thing. So, making money with SeneGence, the commission versus the group sales volume bonus. I am first going to talk about commission. So commission is only on the first 1 to 100 PV of orders, but in order to qualify for that, you must order 100 PV to collect. So the first line, you always get 10% of their 100 PV. You can see over here, you can get 20% off of your second line, you get 30% off of your third line, and then you get 5% on your fourth and fifth lines. And what that translates to is if anyone on your first line places 100 PV, you get $10 a month. If anyone on your second line places 100 PV, you get $20 from each of them. And if anyone on your third line places 100 PV, you get $30 from them that month. And then on your fourth and fifth lines, you would get $5 if they place at least 100 PV. So right there, that adds up pretty quickly. So I'm going to take you to another screen to show you a little bit. So here's you at the top with your 300 PV, because you know that it's important to place 300 PV to qualify and to just stay on top of things. So we're always placing 300 PV. Next, you have your first line. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ladies that place 300 PV this month, and that translates to $10 for each of those women. On the next line, you have 5 women that also place 300 PV, and that translates to $20 per woman. On the next line, you have 2 that place 300 PV, which translates to $30 per woman. You have 3 that place 300 PV, and that's $5. And then 2 more on your fifth line with 300 PV, which translates to $5 also. So right there, you have made on commission $235 just from your team working hard to qualify and place that 300 PV, which we're aiming for. So that's the easiest one to look at. No matter what is going on or how many women you have on each line placing an order, you will always make a commission off of your team if they're placing at least 100 PV, but of course we want to encourage them to place the 300 PV to help them save money with discounts and also to help them remain qualified within SeneGence. So the next thing, which is where it gets really tricky, but this is also where the money adds up really quick, is the group sales volume bonus. And so you can see over here, the group sales volume bonus is on the remaining PV 101 and above, but you must order 300 PV to collect. So after that first 100 takes the commission away, anything above that you can make 10% off of their PV on the first line, you can make 6% on your second line, you can make 4% on your third line, 3% on your fourth line, and 2% on your fifth line. And what that translates to, if they're all placing that 300 PV, which we're aiming for, you can get the $10 commission plus $20 group sales volume. And then on your second line, $20 commission plus $12 group sales volume, $30 commission plus the $8 group sales volume. On your fourth line, it's the $5 commission plus the $6 group sales volume. And on your fifth line, it's the $5 commission plus the $4 group sales volume. And this is all based on just 300 PV. So if they do above and beyond that, you'll be making more when it comes to group sales volume. The one thing that's really important to note about group sales volume is that you have to qualify for that. So on your first line, you will always qualify for that 10%. No matter if you have 1 woman placing 300 PV or if you have 50 women placing 300 PV, you will always qualify for the group sales volume bonus on that first line. But after that, you need at least 5 women per line to be placing to open up that line. So on your second line, you only will open up that group sales volume if you have 5 women on your first line and on your second line with 300 PV orders. And then it just builds upon that. So for your third line, the second I guess it's actually the first, second, and third because it's always building upon. So if I was to have 5 on my first line place, and then 2 on my second line, and then 5 on my third line, I would miss out on that group sales volume because my second line didn't have to hit that 5. So you need to have at least 5 women on the line, on each line, to qualify for the group sales volume bonus. Otherwise, you'll miss out. And I'll show you that in the graph that I'm about to show you. Okay, so here we are with a similar to the commission, but here's you with the 300 PV because that's what you have to do to qualify for group sales volume bonus. So let's go through this a little bit. So here we are with 5 women, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they place 300 PV. And what that ends up translating to is $20 because you've already made the $10 I mentioned before on the commission. So this is just the amount of group sales volume bonus. And then on your next line, you have 5 women again. And since you had 5 women here and you have 5 women here, you will qualify for the additional $12 of group sales volume bonus for each of these women because they all placed 300 PV and your first line had 5 that placed 300 PV. So that's an additional $12 after the initial $20 per woman. On the next line, and this is where it gets like to be a bummer. So I have 5 here and 5 here, but I don't have 5 here. I just have 2. So that 300 PV for the group sales volume bonus ends up being 0. I did make 30 on the commission, but I only make 0 here. And then it continues on. I had 3 here, but it would be 0 because I don't have the 5 here and I don't have the 5 here. And then same with the 5th line. No 5 here, no 5 here. And so these two 300 PV orders would end up also being 0. But that does end up adding to the original commission that I showed you on the first slide an additional $160, which is awesome. It's a ton of money to bring in just because your team is working hard to qualify. But I do want to show you the benefit of having women on each line, at least 5 on each line, doing group sales volume bonus. So if you had 3 more on your third line, 2 more on your second line, and 3 more on your 5th line, let's look at what the difference in the total would be. So right now, we don't have that. But say we did have 5 here. That would add $8 per distributor on this line. If we had at least 5 here, we would get $6 per distributor. And if we had at least 5 on the bottom, that would be $4 per distributor. And right now, I'm just showing you 5 per line. But if it's 5 women or if it's 500 women, you can make that group sales volume bonus on everything 101 PV and above. And that would take that $160 and make it $250 in group sales volume. So I really just wanted you to see how it breaks down and what the difference between the commission and the group sales volume bonus is. Let's just take one more look at the commission and group sales volume bonus opportunities. First, the commission, which is on the first 1 to 100 PV. Here's the breakdown for everything, and the commission is just on that first 100 PV, no matter how many girls order. Then there's the group sales volume bonus, which is on the 101 PV and above, and you have to have at least those 5 girls to qualify for this after the first line. And so you really want to be encouraging all your team to place 300 PV orders so that you can get those group sales volume bonuses. I do understand that all of this can be very confusing and overwhelming, so if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out, and I hope that this is motivating you to figure out how to build your team so you can make that additional income with SeneGence.